All right. Hello, everybody. How you doing? So today I want to give you some tools and strategies that are going to help you to feel strong and confident so that you can turn off that inner critic that might be messing with you. So, I'm out there, I'm on TV and I'm on the stage and I'm doing a lot of stuff out there and people are like, oh, Tim, it's easy for you because you're so positive and you've probably always been a positive thinker. And I just laugh because I was the exact opposite. I was always anxious and stressed and scared. I mean, I wouldn't even be on this video right now because I would have been afraid that I was going to look like an idiot and I was going to be stupid and I was going to freeze up and I wasn't going to know what I was going to say and I was going to look dumb and you were going to click off and think I was a moron and I would really judge myself. And because I was judging myself, I assumed that everybody else was going to judge me. Remember, you don't see the world as it is, you see the world as you are. So when you're in your head telling yourself that you're not good enough, then you're going to see that the world feels that way about you as well, even if it's false. If you think that you have value and that you matter and that you're awesome, you're going to just kind of assume that other people are going to think that you're awesome also. And whatever we're looking for enough, we kind of attract it to us. We'll notice it. There's lots of things to notice around you. We're going to pay attention to the things that we expect to find. And so if we're expecting to find good things, guess what our brain notices more than anything else? Those good things. So success truly is an inside job. And that's why today I want to show you how to silence your inner critic, how to shut down the fear. Well, let me tell you a quick little story. So I just finished a podcast with a friend of mine and it was really awesome. And she asked me, was there a turning point for you where you went from so negative or critical of yourself to being more positive? There wasn't one big thing. There was a whole series of things that I've been through in my life to try to help me grow. I'll tell you real quick, one of the things that I did, now I'm old, all right? So if you're younger and you're watching this video, I used to go to the library and I would get cassette tapes and I would play them in my Walkman and I would walk around for hours and hours just listening to these audio programs and feeding that information into my brain, into this big melon of mine. And what you put in there is what comes out, right? And so I kept feeding my mind this positive information because I didn't know a lot of positive people. You know, everybody was just trying to get through and survive just like me. And so I had to go find these experts, these people who seem to have more wisdom or understanding. And I would go check out 10 or 20 audio programs because I was broke. I didn't have any money. And so it was amazing that I could go into a building, get all this amazing stuff from all these amazing people and just walk out with like 10 of their programs, and it didn't cost me anything. I mean, wow, that's awesome. And I fed myself this information and it made a big difference. I also hired coaches that I could not afford, right? I'd put it on my credit card and I would find people that I thought were the best coaches around to try to help me grow. And so I've always tried to develop myself, and that's the only reason why I'm here sharing this wisdom with you today, because I had to go through it first. And so I understand the pain, the fear, the frustration, the anger, the hurt, the overwhelm, because I went through all of that myself. I went through all kinds of crazy bad stuff. I dealt with it in terrible ways, and I got through it all because I learned how to be more loving and accepting of myself and to really own my value. So for you, you can, instead of going to the library, you can go to iTunes and you can download all these podcasts, right? And you can hang out. And my friend Lisa Mitchell, she says, get around your vibe tribe, right? Your good vibe tribe. I love that. So I thought that was really fun how she said that. And so if you don't know anybody around you, then you can get the audio programs or I'll be part of your vibe tribe, right? So you're watching this video right now. So now I'm someone that's a part of your vibe tribe, right? And I want to help you create better vibes for you so that you go out there and you continue to make a difference in the world because you're awesome. I don't know if you believe that or not. It matters that you believe it because you won't get to experience what comes from believing it if you're not actively telling yourself that, hey, you know what? I am valuable. If you're listening to me right now saying, no, I'm not, what are you defending, right? Are you defending feeling like crap? Are you defending keeping yourself down? I mean, it's not going to pay off. There's no self-righteous benefit from that. All it's doing is making you feel worse. And notice, if you look around the room, you're probably by yourself right now. No one else is making you feel bad except you. I'm telling you, you're awesome. What are you telling you? Okay, so pay attention to this stuff. So anyway, let's go back in time, right? 25, 26 years ago. And my first apartment was this scary, should have been condemned, this 100-year-old house that was owned by the Polish church that it was next to in Gary, Indiana. And I lived upstairs. The rent was $150 a month. And, my gas bills sometimes were more than that, and which really freaked me out every month because I didn't know how I was going to pay it. And but at least the asbestos in the room kept me warm. Anyway, so I'm sitting out on the back porch, and I'm looking out over the parking lot, and I'm sitting there thinking about bad memories, because that's what always popped into my mind, the bad stuff that had happened to me, because that's what I focused on most of the time. So it was kind of a habit for that bad stuff to kind of just jump into my mind. And so I was thinking about this memory of a friend that was he was a best friend, and then he hurt me and, kind of betrayed my trust. And so it would always come up, and I'd always be so upset. And I was always so scared to say anything, right? And so I'm sitting there and I'm replaying that movie in my mind, because at that point it was just a movie, right? And I remember just for whatever reason, probably because I was listening to some audio program, I remember thinking, what if I changed this movie? What if I gave it a happier ending? What if I changed what was going on inside? What would I wish I could have done in that situation? And then all of a sudden, I started imagining myself standing up for myself and saying, you know what? You really hurt my feelings, and you shouldn't have done that, and that was ridiculous. And, I thought we were friends, and that really hurt, and I'm worth more than that, and I'm better than that, and you shouldn't have done that, and, you need to apologize. And then I imagine him apologizing and saying, you know what? I'm really sorry. I should not have done that. I was a total idiot, and, that was wrong, and I'm really sorry. And then we hugged, which was not what happened, right? But in my mind, it's what happened. And all of a sudden, I kid you not, all of a sudden, that heavy feeling from that memory lifted. It lifted, right? Because it wasn't what happened. It was the meaning that I was giving to it. It was the interpretation that I had and what it meant. What it meant was, bad things always happen to me and you can't trust anyone. Which, of course, having a set of beliefs like that are going to cause you to mistrust everybody, and that makes you mistrusting, and then you're going to act that way, right? And you're going to attract other people that act that way because that's what you're looking for. It all really starts in here. Even if things have happened to you originally and you were all innocent, which you were, right? And now you've got a head full of BS, belief systems, right? Some head trash. You can still, at this very moment, right now, do something to change that. Have a garage sale, donate all that crap out of your head and start changing the memories. I did it. You can do it too. So I started imagining that what I wanted was happening. And from that came a new belief, right? The new belief is, wow, I have some power here. I didn't know I could do that. I didn't know I was allowed to do that. This is kind of cool. What else could I do? So what I started doing was get excited about if I had another bad memory, which believe me, I had tons of them. If I had another bad memory pop in my mind, all right, what would I like to have happen here? How would I like to respond this time? Now, I can hear people sometimes, because I would have thought the same thing. Okay, yeah, that sounds great. You're just fooling yourself, because that's not what happened. You're not in reality. You're just lying to yourself. Interesting thought. Okay, again, I hear somebody defending keeping themselves down, all right? What I was doing was realizing that I had the power to give new meaning to a situation, that I could change the way that I was looking at the situation, and I was also preparing myself for how to respond in the future. So if I'm in situations like that in the future, that I am better equipped to prepare for it because I've been visualizing and imagining how I would like to respond instead of how I've always reacted. Now, what sounds more practical and useful for you? Okay? Keeping yourself down, making yourself feel bad, telling yourself you have no power, and then preparing yourself for the worst in the future, only to reenact the same crap that you've been using over and over because you're not doing anything different? Or do you say, I have the power to break this pattern. I have the power inside of me to do something new and do something different. And if other people can do it, I can do it too. We got the same brain. We got the same nervous system, right? We're on the same planet. I'm not any different than you. You could do the same thing. You just got to do it. You just got to learn how. This is why I'm teaching you this, so you know how, right? You can't change things if you don't know how to do it, and if you don't think that you are able to. So I'm letting you know that, one, you are able to, and two, this is how you do it. At least this is one of the ways you can do it. So if a bad memory or some hurtful thing or some flashback of some trauma you've been through happen, pause it, stop it. What would you like to have had happen instead? Right? Would you imagine if somebody was hurting you that you had the superpowers to shove them off and freeze them or shrink them down or shut them up or get them to apologize or get them to run away in fear so you take back your power? Right? Do you want to be able to say everything that you wanted to say and just scream or cry and get it out? You can do that, right? Go somewhere quiet where no one's around and do it. Do it in your head or do it out loud. Get it out in a safe way. And then have them apologize. Have them say what you wish they would have said to you, what you needed to hear. And then let it go, because you don't need that from them anyway. What you need is to hear it from yourself, right? They can apologize and say, I'm sorry and I shouldn't have done that and I hope you forgive me. That's all fine and good. But what I've discovered from 22 years and doing over 10,000 coaching sessions with people on these exact things, what I found is that what we need to hear it from ourselves more than from anyone else. You might think that you need to hear it from your mom or your dad or your grandparents or a school teacher that embarrassed you in front of the class or from some friend that hurt you or a girlfriend or boyfriend. You might think you need it from them, but what you really need is to hear the love and the validation from yourself so that you're hearing yourself say, I am safe. I love myself. I accept myself. I am good. I don't have to prove myself. I'm already enough. Right? I'm already good. If I want to go out there and grow and do things, it's because it gives me the freedom to create. It gives me the freedom to be able to go out there and find out who I can really be instead of hiding. So when a bad situation comes up in your mind, think about, how would I like to respond? How do I wish this could have went? What could I say to myself that would make me feel better? Right? If I'm feeling bad right now, what's the belief that I would have to have in order to feel this way? So for me, my old belief was I'm not good enough, right? I'm not good enough. And when I got older, I had imposter syndrome. I was afraid when I started working with companies, they were going to realize that I was an idiot and a loser and they were going to throw me out, right? I had imposter syndrome, fraud syndrome. I was afraid that people were going to discover who I was, right? And then I had to ask myself, well, who am I then, right? What am I telling myself? And that's when I started changing my story. That's when I said, you know what? I have the ability to tell myself anything I want. Why don't I tell myself something else? And then, that inner critic in my head would say, well, what if you don't believe it? Right? You're fooling yourself. You're full of shit, Tim. That's what it would say, right? And I would say, you know what? Maybe you're full of shit. Maybe I'm only having these thoughts because they're a habit, because I've been doing it so long. If you're a smoker and you've been smoking for 30 years, you're going to feel like you were born a smoker. It's going to feel so much a habit to smoke that to not smoke feels weird. And you can tell yourself that you were born a smoker all you want, but that's a lie, because you were born a non-smoker. You were born someone who breathes fresh, clean air. You did not come out of your mama's womb going, whoa, what a rush, right? You had to learn that habit, and when you first learned it, you were coughing and hacking, and it was uncomfortable, but we pushed through it for whatever reason until it becomes the norm. It becomes something that's habitual, right? We do it automatically, but it's not who we originally were. So if I help someone go back to being a non-smoker, I'm just getting them to go back to their original programming, because that's who they really are. So you were born innocent and beautiful and perfect just the way you are. And you might have had experiences like all of us do that have created unwanted habits or patterns of thinking in your mind. And so when you go to change that, your mind is actively going to say, no, this isn't how it is. You really are a loser. You really aren't going to be good. You really aren't going to be able to pull this off. Not because it's accurate, but because it's habit. And if you can recognize that right now, okay? If you can recognize that right now, that gives you the freedom in this moment, the freedom to be able to make a different choice. And that is the start of a whole new chapter in your life, where you literally say, you know what? That makes a lot of sense. So if I say something positive or that I want to believe about myself, so, I have the power to keep telling myself that until that becomes normal. Let me do something with you. I want you to fold your arms, okay? Fold your arms like you normally do. Go on, do it. Fold your arms. Good. Now, fold them the other way, where you put the other arm on top. Now, at first, you might, what? You're like, what? Your brain gets confused, right? Because you're used to a certain way. Do it the other way, okay? Now you do it the other way. It feels really weird, doesn't it? It feels really uncomfortable because it's new and it's different. Your brain flips out on that in the beginning. It's okay. Whenever someone's going to change, there's 3 phases. First, we resist. Even if we want the change, we resist. Then we get confused. Then we have breakthrough. Okay, that's what happens. So anyway, if you hold it this way now and you walk around the rest of the day folding your arms this way, you know what's going to happen? You're going to get real comfortable with it. Your brain's going to assimilate the new information and you're going to start to feel more comfortable in this new way. And then when you go to switch back, it will feel weird. Okay? And that's what we want. We want you to feel more comfortable loving yourself, making yourself feel safe, helping you to believe in yourself, and then to go back to that old negative critic is going to feel weird and uncomfortable, and you're going to be like, later, right? Speak to the hand. I ain't buying, right? Go sell somewhere else because I ain't buying that crap. And so, again, 2 things here. If the negative thought comes into mind, ask yourself, what would I rather have happen instead? And then switch the belief. Okay, so the old belief, if the old belief was, for me, I'll just use my example. When I would imagine bad things happening, it's because there was something wrong with me. It was my fault. I'm damaged goods. There's something bad with me, right? And so, of course, then I would play that out because your mind's just going to play out. It's like your computer's going to run whatever program you play. You get to decide what program you're going to play. You are the computer programmer. So, what belief would I rather have about myself? If I could believe anything, and I can believe that I'm going to, buy a purple elephant today. It might not happen, but I can believe it, right? I can tell myself anything. And if I told myself long enough, I bet I could actually start to believe that I could buy a purple elephant. In fact, you can. I've seen people in India where they had ceremonies and they took this chalk, and they painted their elephants purple. So actually you can. All right. A lot of times our brain says you can't, stupid. It's reality. You're fooling yourself. Are you? Or are you just fooling yourself right now with all that BS? So what you do then is you say, what would I rather believe? What I'd rather believe is that I am good and I am loved and I am safe and that I matter and that people should treat me nice. And that means I got to treat myself nice first. I got to go first. People are going to treat me the way I treat myself. So if I treat myself like crap, guess what other people are going to do? If I treat myself with more love, then other people are going to start to do that. Is everybody going to start to do that? No, maybe not, because they have their own baggage, right? If they're treating me poorly, maybe it's not because of me. Maybe it's because of what's going on inside of them, right? It's their own baggage. It's not my stuff. So what we want to do is we want to own what we are doing and not own what other people are doing. They have to own that. And if they don't want to, who cares? That's their issue, right? So we've got to make sure that we're deciding, all right, I'm going to change the movie in my mind and give it a better outcome. And then I'm going to have a new belief. Figure out what the old belief is, even though it's painful. And then what's the new belief? Instead of I'm not good, I am good. I can't have what I want. I can have what I want. Just if you don't know what the new belief is, just do the opposite of the fearful belief. Right? Of the negative belief, of the unuseful belief. So you turn it around in your mind. You create a new movie. You spin it around in a new way, and then what will happen is you'll start to feel a little bit better. And in the beginning, it might feel like this big heavy weight is lifting, or this piece of you that had been lost suddenly comes back, right? Or it might feel like not much has changed because it needs to happen gradually, be reinforced over time. Sometimes we think it didn't work or it didn't matter or we didn't do it right or it's a bunch of garbage because we didn't feel a big shift. Well, for a lot of us, it's repeated shifting over time that helps you get your shift together more permanently. So it's like planting a seed in the ground. You put the seed in the ground, you come back the next day, you don't see anything. Does that mean the seed's bad? Does that mean it didn't work? Does that mean it's nonsense thinking I could grow something with this seed? Not at all. What it means is it takes time. You come back 2 weeks later, you don't see anything. But what you're not noticing is what's happening underneath the surface. Underneath the ground, in the ground, that seed is open and a root system is being developed. So when the seedling grows through the top, it's rooted and it doesn't just blow away. So when you start to plant these seeds in the beginning, you might not notice much happening because your root system is being developed. Once your root system starts to get developed, then, and only then, will you be able to have a new set of beliefs that can withstand the pressure when life starts blowing, right? And the only reason life starts blowing is because it's testing you. It's testing you. So the seed you plant is going to be a palm tree. Because the thing about palm trees, and they grow from a seed, when you plant a palm tree and it grows, God put palm trees in tropical places because they can handle the wind. Timely metaphor, right? The harder the wind blows, the more the palm tree bends. The more the palm tree bends, the stronger the root system becomes. That palm tree can bend almost all the way over and touch the ground and still stay strong because of the foundation. You are building a foundation. And as Benjamin Franklin once said, the harder the wind blows, the higher the kite rises. And so blow, baby, let the wind blow, because it's just going to cause you to rise higher. So use these simple strategies. If you need more, I put a whole bunch of them, an entire mind training course in my book called Get Out of Your Way. You can find it at timshurr.com. It's all about how to eliminate self-sabotage and train your brain for success. And I put all of those strategies that I learned from 22 years of helping people go through the toughest stuff ever and put their life together in a way that causes them to excel. Voltaire once said, "You're not in control of the hand you're dealt, but you are in control of how you play that hand." And so I want you to use the tools and start practicing immediately. Think of some upsetting situation and then ask yourself, what would I rather have happen instead? Or what's the outcome that I want? What resources do I have? Who can I lean on for support? What would I want to believe about myself in this situation? Right? How have I been believing? What would I like to believe instead? And then start to imagine a better outcome. And then just start to take action towards that. If it doesn't go, if this is a future thing that's happening and it doesn't go quite the way you want it to, stay with it. Keep practicing. I would teach people, there's 4 pillars to success, when it comes to retraining your mind at least in my world, right? So the way that I approach it, pillar number 1, you change and upgrade people's self-limiting beliefs. Number 2, you improve the way they talk to themselves. Number 3, you improve their neural associations, the way they associate pain and pleasure in their brain. And number 4, you create a reinforcing environment so that it keeps reinforcing what you want to have happen in your life. And so we start to change the beliefs. And then the second thing we do is we start telling ourselves a better story. We start interpreting what's going on in a more empowering, useful way so that we can feel more empowered and then take more empowered action, right? You tell yourself certain things to create feelings inside that cause you to have the desire to take action. And those actions create the results that you're looking for. Especially if you keep doing it, you can create any result if you keep doing it long enough. And then it creates this new belief that reinforces the thinking, that reinforces the feeling, that reinforces the behaviors. Okay? That's how you're training yourself to be more successful and be happier and have more positive thinking automatically. That's how you create new beliefs. So I would teach people how to communicate more effectively with themselves, and I'd give them some tools, and then I'd see them in a week, and I'd say, how'd it go? And they would say, oh, it didn't work, right? I don't think this positive thinking stuff is working. And I'm like, well, tell me what happened. And I said, well, I went home after talking to you and I was real positive, and I said, you know what, I'm going to go in the house, I'm going to talk to my spouse, and it's going to be a good conversation. Well, I walk in the house and my spouse starts yelling at me, and immediately it just goes right back to the way that it was. And I said, well, what did you do in that situation when your spouse started yelling? Because they might have been yelling because they were scared, because they were stressed, because they were overwhelmed, because they needed help or support, and that was just how they were dealing with it. Maybe it had nothing to do with you. And they said, well, no, I didn't think of that. I just said this is baloney and this positive thinking crap sucks and I didn't do it anymore. That's why it didn't work, because you didn't use it, right? So if I tell you to pound a nail in the wall and you take the hammer and you hit your thumb, it doesn't mean the hammer doesn't work. It means you didn't use it right, right? You didn't use it long enough. You need to own this. You need to say, you know what? I have not been owning this. And I have not been standing in my power, and I have not been telling myself a better story, and I haven't been giving myself a chance to have this work for me, and that's the only reason why it hasn't worked. Not because it doesn't, it's because you haven't used it long enough. When you do, you will experience the rewards. Those seeds that you plant will one day turn into a beautiful harvest that will give you a future that you can feast upon, and it will always make you feel warm, full, and satisfied in your heart, in your mind, and in your soul. So I hope this helps. If you have any questions or you're interested about learning more, please leave a comment. And like I said, you can go to timshurr.com and look for the Get Out of Your Way book, because it takes you through one experience after another, after another, after another. It does not tell you what you should do. It shows you how to retrain your brain, and then you can use it for whatever you want, right? So you get to decide how you're going to think, feel, and behave. And I'm just giving you the tools for how to make it happen. And so anyway, I hope this helps. Leave me a comment, and let's shut down that negative inner critic once and for all. Can I have an amen? Amen. High five. You are awesome. Now go out there and make yourself feel like a sure success. Talk to you soon. Thanks.